you also need to be able to tap into the emotional. Hello. So we're going to do a whirlwind of B2B on TikTok. But before we do, just a little bit about us. So who am I? So yes, I've been in social 20 years. Oh my God, I'm old. So Immediate Future has been in social since it was just MySpace and blogs back then. And today we're going to focus on one of the newest platforms, which is TikTok. I want to have a deeper dive into where is the potential for B2B? I mean, should we even think about this? What are the secrets for B2B to using TikTok, and why would you bother? Some nice real life examples, and how you can get your teams involved, how you can get the whole company involved. So if we start with TikTok. So TikTok might be quite a recent platform, but there are 3 billion downloads and 1 billion people are active on it. And I think that matters to us because there are important elements to TikTok that we need to pay attention to. One is that the organic reach and engagement is phenomenal on TikTok, which means that we're capturing people's attention, their hearts and minds at the same time. In fact, the average engagement on TikTok is 5.3%, which is much, much higher than, say, Instagram, which is around 3%, and Facebook, which is around 2%. More importantly, TikTok users spend up to 52 minutes a day on the platform. In fact, it works out as 23 hours a week. I mean, my word. So it's more than just cute pets. And this is the real there are a lot of preconceptions about TikTok, that it's just Gen Z. It's really about dances and duets and sort of silliness, really, which is great entertainment platform. But there's no space really for talking about business. Not that we're always serious in B2B, but there's no space for that. But you couldn't be more wrong. So have a look at this, because what we've got here is that when you actually look at the data, almost 2/3, not quite, are over 25. So, I mean, if you look at Crazy Auntie on the right, that's Crazy Auntie Anne. I can play it if you fancy it, but she has 29.4 million views. So yes, there are lots of older generation on TikTok, but more importantly, when you look at the demographic of our buyers, as our B2B buyers, 73% of millennials are involved in the buying decision. 44% of millennials make up the final buying decision. And I think it really matters because 30% of TikTok's advertising audience is aged 35 and up. So actually, your audience is there. And that really matters to you, because this preconception that it's just for the young, it's just for teens, is actually rubbish. Older B2B buyers are picking up the habits of their younger counterparts. Everybody is getting involved in a larger context with vertical video in one form or another, and TikTok is playing its part in that. In fact, it's leading the way. Right now, we've also got a scenario where 10% of brands are already using TikTok. And that's, you can download the study if you want to have a look at. We did the study with Analytica last year to look at what B2B brands are doing, which means that there is an opportunity there. There are some brands already doing it, and I'll go through those in a second. But what's really important, Gartner predicts that by 2025, 80% of all B2B engagement will occur via digital channels. And in all honesty, that won't be just LinkedIn. LinkedIn is great, but actually your audience is diversifying. The way they think about social, the way they think about B2B is just not as linear as we'd hope it would be. It is very broad. So we need to kind of get into the power of TikTok. Where does TikTok fit in our lead generation? How does it build awareness? How does it deal with brand? It's really important for us to have a deeper dive into where TikTok fits within our go-to-market strategies. So, typical funnel. I know it's not linear. I know it's scribbly. We all know that. But I think there's some really interesting elements, and actually quite a lot of this applies to social media, which is, first of all, if you want social to be, and if you want TikTok to be, it can be through the funnel, but there is a rhythm to the way you work. Yes, you need to build awareness, and short form content is brilliant at doing that. But you also need to be able to tap into the emotional. And that means really knowing your audiences extremely well. And it's interesting that 73% of TikTok users say they feel a deeper connection to brands that interact with them on the platform. So they want you to be there. More importantly, as we get into that consideration phase, the interest and consideration phase, you have this massive opportunity to start to build memorability. And that's where TikTok can play a really important part, because it sort of bridges that gap between big broadcast advertising and lead generation. Because the Ehrheiser, I can never say this word, Ehrheiser-Bass study shows that only 5% of your B2B audiences are buying at any one time. That means that your marketing to be most cost effective needs to be memorable. If it's memorable, then people won't forget you when they do get into buying mode. So this bit in the middle, this consideration in the middle, needs a lot of different tactics, from education, from branding, from lead generation. All of these things need to fit together within the consideration cycle so that you can continuously be memorable. And of course, the conversion rate on it varies obviously on TikTok is actually quite high. People are very used to clicking on TikTok, you know what I mean, clicking on TikTok to get to the next space, to get to wherever they need to be when they're interested. So there's no massive challenge in getting people to sign up for things, to get people to join an event. I think there's some LinkedIn data that we can use here that really exemplifies what I'm getting at, which is LinkedIn themselves say it's somewhere between 5 to 9 touch points. In fact, received wisdom is it's more like 15 touch points between somebody finding out about you and actually creating an action. That isn't even buying. That's just going and visiting your website. So we know we need to build this journey at the beginning if we're going to drive through to lead generation. So, and of course, we know that TikTok can work with that. So if we do that right and well, it works. However, there is a little mini framework in how you do it, and that is create value first. If you do it the wrong way around, you won't grab attention. So you need to be able to grab attention by creating value first. Then you nudge and you nurture. So you look at that buying cycle. What are the pain points that address what your clients or customers need? And then very much at the end of that storytell, are you looking at converting? So you need to think in this kind of constant pattern where you shatter your content out to create the value, to nudge and nurture, and then think about conversion rather than kind of dashing to the end game. So one thing that I like about TikTok for B2B is that it's one of the few platforms right now that has quite a nice level playing field for those entering the market. So the algorithm is really interesting. And in fact, some of the meta platforms are beginning to move to this same platform. You'll see the For You bit appearing on Twitter, for instance, which is very, very much about curating content against your interests, not just against what you click on. But this has all been driven by TikTok, and TikTok basically shares information or shares TikToks that match your the user's buying behavior. So what are they doing? What are the comments they've posted? What are they clicking on? But also their video interactions, which are ones that they'll watch or watch again. And of course, their device settings. So which technology are they coming at you with? So it uses that, but what it doesn't do is serve more of the things that have more followers or more likes, which is very much the old way of social, which is the more you get likes, the more followers you have, the more people see your content. That isn't the case in TikTok. In fact, you can come out of nowhere, which means that you suddenly have this very level playing field. However, in order to get seen, you also need to be bold. Your content needs to really stand out, because it's standing out not just in B2B, not just in category, but you have to stand out in against everything else that's going on, the latest trends. So you have to be very bold. It really matters that you're personal. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. Personal and focused. So it doesn't do to work in a branding way. It's almost like you have to get your brand into a personality and then talk to people or create your content around it. And it needs to be very focused, but we'll come on to that. So before we do, let's have a look at what other brands are doing. So we had a look at all the larger brands and what they're doing, because it tends to be that, and some of the smaller brands. And we did a little bit of an audit of what's going on for B2B brands on social media. And what we see is that they are, the successful ones are sharing more digestible, relatable content, that they're leaving the boring behind. The ones that are boring, they don't get any traction. We can't find them. So they're leaving the more serious stuff elsewhere, but they're using this in different ways to attract different audiences. Those younger buying millennials, for instance, they're using employees and people who like their products to customize and humanize it, and they're tapping into trends. And I'm going to show you some examples, because they really do know how to demonstrate. Those that are doing this are demonstrating the value that their products are delivering and sharing tips and interesting things. So let's have a look at the kind of different storytells we've got going on TikTok. This first one is hilarious.
Do you really think anyone is going to care about cloud management on this app? I mean, yeah, we combine public and private clouds to meet strategic business objectives. That's pretty cool, right? I don't know. It's no dance.
Right, so this is more promotional content that is this is more content that builds confidence through education. I absolutely love that cloud one. It makes me laugh every time. But you can see they're taking the context, but what they're doing is educating their audiences. Now we're going to look at promotional content that entertains in a different way. If I can make the slide move on, come on. And
have you ever sent a message at work, reread it, and realized you could have phrased it a little differently to sound more constructive?
So two things about this piece. One is straight to the point on that pain point. That is something that resonates with all of us, where we send a message and you read it back afterwards and you think, oh, good God, really? Did I say it like that? That's the clumsiest way ever. So immediately grabs your attention, so you want to get into it. And then you've got slightly more entertaining content. So you can see that is promotional, but it's done in quite an entertaining way, which is it fits very well with TikTok.
Have you ever sent a message?
Microsoft Archives, ASMs.
So here we have something that is very common in TikTok, which is following trends. And one of these trends is the ASM, the things that make you feel, touchy-feely things that happen. And you can see that these two TikToks by Microsoft and Zendex are now, I'll just play the Zendex one in a minute, are tapping into feelings and emotions as well as those trends. I had no idea there was an arsehole. There you go. That's a new word for me. And finally, we have, if I can move it on, come on.
I started my candle business late last year, and it's been amazing making people candles. However, we ran into problems, whether it's having too much demand over supply. I
love Sage. They just know how to really get to their SMBs, which they target, small, medium-sized businesses, by making it personal. And this is what I mean. They've made it about the customer and the customer problem. But Adobe, who's a big brand, can do exactly the same, which is now they're beginning to align what they're talking about in their terms of their customer experience with those people who see themselves in the designer field.
I was 2 years old when I learned that my favorite action, mirroring, is actually called flipping, and you can use it in Photoshop or any other Adobe.
And you can see how relatable these are. You can have a look at all of these, just these examples on TikTok themselves, and you can watch them through and you'll see how amazing they are. So doing a great job of really relating to people. And finally, what we've got is relatable content that really deepens the relationship. So here we have Shopify. And it says, for those that maybe it's a bit small, when you have 38,268 tabs open because you're a CEO and a social media manager and a customer support. So what they're doing is relating to the shopper person trying to work their way through Shopify and do all the work of every single job because they're launching their product.
Where should I put my shoes, Anyamor? You say put them on your head, Anyamor.
I love that. And anybody's used Linktree, this is somebody complaining about the fact that people are putting links in their posts when they need to put them in the bio, because links in posts in Instagram don't work. And it's just very relatable content. So how should you superpower? What are these brands getting right? And there are a whole host of them, from Maersk to IBM, a whole host of B2B brands actually going out and getting it right. What are they doing? So they are much more focused on knowing that audience and what that audience expects on TikTok. So just because TikTok is one of those things which is a bit like Twitter, I was thinking it's such a low barrier to entry, it's really easy to get on it. And that actually means we tend to skip steps. So your strength is in strategy, actually. The bit that matters the most for your plans for TikTok is to make sure you have a proper strategy and that your creative is created in a way that makes it agile. You just can't ignore having a plan. Anybody who says, oh, we'll just try it out for a couple of months, you know what, you're going to try it out to get to failure. It's not the way you should work. So the first things you should do is make sure you understand what your personality will be, because remember, 64% of buyers prefer to see everyday people on TikTok and TikTok advertising instead of celebrities. So you want to be able to present your best sort of human face. The other one is that you need to focus on the niche. So TikTok is massive, but actually the brands that are doing really well, whether they're consumer or B2B, understand the niche that they're after, because actually this is about focusing in on the things that matter to the interest that will matter to your audience. So focusing down and not trying to be everything to everyone, but go, here's the audience. I really want to attract developers. I really want to think about potential talent and employees, or I want to look at how this can support lead generation. So I want to target CEOs of small businesses. All of these things, understand who it is you're after and what interests them. And then the core to all social is drilling into the why. And if you look back at those examples I've shown you, what you see is that why really matters. Why would your buyer be remotely interested in hearing more about you? And when you get to that why and the problems that they have, that's how you increase relevancy. And you build your pillars, your content pillars, over the why. So why would I buy this piece of technology? Why would I change my business banking account to here? Why would this matter to me as a buyer? If you build your pillars around that, you're already moving in the right niche and in the right relevancy. And then you need to plan for search engine optimization. And in this case, I'm talking about TikTok search, which is now almost doing battle with Google in terms of the younger demographic. And by that, I mean the under 45s. That when I call younger, because I'm an old lady, that's what I mean, is that they are using TikTok to search for things. So you need to make sure you have a good search strategy and that you also have a good hashtag strategy, so you become recognizable, because you need to keep performing with every piece of content. And then you also want to find the right and relevant creators who can work alongside you, because it's very much a collaborative channel TikTok, and you can work with creators so that they can put content out, which is always increasingly helpful when you have to produce so much content. The second part of it is about creating agility. And in this, I'm going to be really blunt. There are way too many B2B videos that start with a sting, that start with a logo, that start so slowly. There is no patience in the world of social media, and there is absolutely zero patience in TikTok. You have 2 seconds to grab that first moment, 2 seconds before somebody swipes up and you're gone. So first of all, that first 2 seconds means that you have no time to put stings and logos and talk to them about why they should listen. Make that your first point. Make it fun and entertaining. And the second is, of course, you need that hook. You need a hook into your audience that has relevancy to them. Again, tapping into the whys. Authentic matters. Everybody's talking about it. Genuine content, yes. But that doesn't mean you dial down the quality. So shaky cameras, out of focus don't really help. So keep the quality high, just make it real. It can be lo-fi in that sense, but just, watchable at least. Shoot vertical, follow trends, and, maybe not every stitch and every duet is, quite your bag, but there's absolutely no reason not to. As you saw, some people were using some of the sounds from TikTok within their video because it's very recognizable to anybody who's on the TikTok platforms. So being genuine and using trends and experimenting, that is a really important part of TikTok these days, is trying different things. And because you don't lose because this video didn't get a whole load of watches, but this video did, because the algorithm doesn't work like that, you are even more free to test and trial. So agility is the watchword. So you can't really create masses of banks of TikTok content ahead of time, but you need to know how you'll do it really quickly. So because part of the rhythm you want to be in is to react to trending content, respond to questions that might be being asked. You might see, for instance, a bigger trend in how you might switch business bank accounts, for instance, or where you can source recyclable paper, for instance, depending on your business. So respond to those trends either with TikToks or within comments, and remix trending ideas that will fit with your brand. And all that hard work is worth it, because vertical video is going insane at the moment. It's just everywhere, and you can put it on shorts and you can put it on reels, and reels, which is Instagram's platform, is getting 30% more organic. So your investment is absolutely worth it. You can recycle content incredibly fast once it's done. So it makes life a lot easier, because your short form content, and particularly your vertical content, will go out everywhere, so you can share it across platforms. So make the most of it. And as I mentioned, you can test and learn, and that means monitoring the right things. So within TikTok, here are the things that you can look at. So everything, once you get to the business platform, which you can see on the right hand side, you can measure engagement rates by view, all the way down to views per follower. And actually, this is where you begin to understand your audience. So like most of social, quite a lot of it is about, sorry, that's my dogs. Quite a lot of it is about making sure that we're trialing and testing different things and working out which bits are getting us more views, which are getting us click-throughs to the website. How is that all managed? That is really important, because then we can test and trial things that work. So how do we conquer TikTok together? How do we do it so that we're not alone? Because I think most marketing departments look at this and go, oh my God, more work to do. But actually, the advantage of TikTok, if you get it right, you can do it as a whole team. So that means we need to educate those around us. So part of that is a 3-step process. We need to help people participate. We need to encourage people to participate. And a lot of reasons why your wider employee set won't participate is they don't know what they're doing, and they're frightened of failing or frightened of doing something that will get them fired. So in order to make this a whole company-wide accessibility thing, so that the content can keep coming to you, you need to do regular workshops, getting people familiarized with how TikTok works, what your branding is, what are the ins and outs of all the detail, how do you add sound, all of the basics. But also you need to add to that brainstorming sessions. So hold regular brainstorming sessions. And that means that you can encourage people to come up with ideas, because just because you're in marketing doesn't mean you have all the ideas. You know, your engineering team might have ideas, your finance team might have cracking ideas. So again, no idea is a bad idea. Do group brainstorms that allow you to collect that thinking together. More importantly is cross-department collaboration, because you want, as we said, 75% of TikTokers want to see what's inside the brand. They want to see the real you. Well, part of that is collaborating with other divisions. So collaborating with those that are maybe in strategy, collaborating with the boardroom. You know, all of these things really matter, because we want the diversity of thought and thinking that shows that you're a rounded business and that you're a trusted business. And finally, you want to encourage experimentation. So in order to create authenticity, you need to encourage people to try different things. But in order to do that, you also need to set some ground rules. And I've got these ones from Starbucks, which I think are quite good, because you just do some general rules, which is, you know, so there sort of sit around, do not let social media posting get in the way of your job. Don't act like a spokesperson for the company and direct all media inquiries to the right person. Do not post any sensitive information or confidential information that should not be publicly disclosed. And then it's told them what hashtags to use. And I think this is, you know, you can very quickly put together a very simple set of guides that employees can use, because there is nothing like employee advocacy. You know, if you have a big away day with your business, getting everybody to share that is perfect. It's exactly what you want. That advocacy going, I love working here because. So in summary, there is a massive opportunity on TikTok to build your brand, to generate leads, to get on the front foot with engaging with actual buyers. You're not waiting for the future buyers, but today's buyers. Don't leave it all to chance. Make sure you plan this out so that you have the frameworks in place. And then understand that you don't have to do it alone, because one of the biggest challenges of social, let alone TikTok, is the amount of content you have to create. Which can either be horrifically expensive if you outsource it, or who the hell is going to do it in-house. So finding that balance that gives you the ability to create authentic, quality content that you can get out on a regular basis. Thank you. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'll take this presentation down.
Katie, that was amazing. I've been scribbling while you've been talking, and smiling and nodding and watching the chat and all this stuff. So there's a couple of questions.
I'm so sorry about my dogs in the middle. You can see me being really distracted. I can't go. And at the same time, my brain is going, why are the dogs doing this? But they've been quiet all morning.
Oh, doesn't matter. This is real. This is what it's all about. So I have prepared a couple of questions, but we'll answer the ones from the chat first before I take over with my own list. Rebecca, hi Rebecca, nice to see you in the chat. How can I manage the multi-channel requirements and formats as a sole social media manager with limited access to graphic capability? So yeah, how do you just manage all the creative options that are available for this?
Well, there are two paths to this. First of all, as a sole, and you have all my sympathy as being a sole, because honestly, the rest of the world does not understand what we do and how, you know, just put this up on Twitter, and you're like, yeah, if only you knew how long it would take me. So the reality is, it's not an easy task, but there are two paths. The first path is to say you can't do it all. If there's just you can't do it all. Stop trying to do it all. You ignore people like me who are talking about, you know, whole departments. Ignore all of that. Say, where is your fastest way to channel? Where is your fastest way to get to your audience? Where are your audience? And just focus on that. Stop stressing about being on everything. That's hard enough in itself. The second is that education piece. So what you do is you say, I'm going to just focus on one channel for now. But in that process of focusing on one channel, I am going to spend the next 3 months going from boardroom to the cleaners and explaining how social works and recruiting me an army of content creators so that everybody can get involved. And one is more strategic, the latter is more strategic. The first is getting the job done. And it really depends on the size of your business as to which one would work for you, because smaller businesses, it's just getting the job done sometimes.
Yeah. And I think, from the conversations I have, and I know that you'll have this, Katie, is that everyone I talk to always feels that they should be doing more and could be doing more. No one's ever comfortable with what they are doing. They always kind of feel this presence of should be, could be, want to be, and we can only do so much.
And also what happens is we get into this, sorry to interrupt you, Leanne, but I have to say this, we get into this thing where everything is about producing content. Well, and I would say stop, stand back. This idea of what content will gain attention, what content is the persuasion content, whether that's, let me give you an example. If I was cloud computing, that the first thing I might do is get something that says, do a load of ads and creative that say, cloud computing doesn't work. It's the biggest failure we've ever had. Right, that's going to get your fucking attention if you're an IT director, right? The next bit I might talk about is why it isn't working. So I might go through, these are the 3 best practices that are being ignored, and legacy systems are a challenge, and we need to put more server systems under the water, or whatever it is. I'd also put case studies with IT directors standing there going, oh God, it was a real headache until I worked with blah, blah, blah. So I would now create the whole consideration cycle. At the very end of all this content, the retargeting bit will retarget for a high quality value exchange. That might be an audit of how much energy your cloud system is burning, or whatever it is, what your carbon footprint is. I'm making this crap up, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
When you do that, it becomes much easier to produce content, because you're producing content around a why that is very singular. You're not running after everything else. Your singular content in a specific area that says, this is easy for me to now blossom out, whether it's doing quote cards because I can't get in front of my clients, where it's written testimonials that I put up. It doesn't make any difference. I now know what the schematic is of what I'm producing, and that in itself becomes easier to do than trying to go, oh my God, this week I need to think of something to put out on social.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know who's on this session that is probably nodding fiercely along with this. A question here I'm going to pick up on, there's a few in here, but pick up on this one about trending, the importance of trends. So the question is about how to find trending sounds that are available for commercial use. But I'm also going to ask you, Katie, how do we decide when to get involved with a trend? And also, when might it be too late to get involved with a trend?
Okay, so deciding when to get involved in a trend is fairly straightforward if you know what your brand personality is. So one of the things we do, we don't just do tone of voice when we do our social planning. We also go, how do you sound? Yeah. Are you B2B brand, laid back? Kind of, if you've got a deep voice, a high voice, blah, blah, blah. Or we ask them all these daft questions. So they're almost describing a human person. And then it becomes very easy that this trend is not right. The silly baby trend, like happy guy, which is the dog dancing, happy guy. I can't sing it because I can't sing. But for instance, wouldn't fit with that brand. Serious ones, scary ones wouldn't fit with the immediate future brand. If you look at our TikTok profile, it's pretty silly. It's the place we all let off steam, basically. And we follow all the daft trends on ours because that's a chance for our team, because our team does it, to be stupid because they love it. It's just fun. And then the second question, so that's kind of deciding on whether you use them. And no, you shouldn't be on everything. There is never a case of saying it's too late, by the way. You're not a consumer brand. You're not trying to jump on a trend because you want to suddenly get more watchers. And there are times when that fails. I watched a brand do what's the name of the director? Wes Anderson. the Wes Anderson trend about 3 months too late, and I went, oh, that's just disappointing. But you know, you don't have to do it right. But the actual key to why B2B brands, as opposed to our consumer clients, why B2B brands do trends, is because it's memorable. It's a memorable thing, and that what happens is not so much that you jump on the trend bandwagon, but you're putting a marker in someone's head, so that when they oh, that's the brand that used that song, that's the one that had skateboards in it. That's what you're trying to do, is make the memory stick with your brand name, so that when they then say, I'm looking for a new bank account, or I need a business stationery, they think of you. That's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, cool. A question here about any advice for highly regulated industries like pharma.
Yeah, pharmaceuticals, some of the banking stuff, obviously. So banking,
legal,
you still need to be careful. Alcohol, and pharma. Frankly, pharma has a massive challenge on social media across the board, and it doesn't change just because it's TikTok. TikTok is no less regulated, and I'm afraid the ASA and CAP will come chasing after you as fast as anything if you do. It depends on pharmaceuticals as to what you're doing and what you're sharing, but my general view is it's the one industry where you need to be more cautious and careful, and it's very specific on the drug that you're talking about, or the therapy that you're talking about. We've worked with Bayer, and you can do some limited stuff, but you have to be very careful, and you have to assume as well it's not just being seen in one country and abide by all regulations in all countries. So it can end up being such a bloody task, it's not worth it.
And it's not just about the original TikTok, is it? It's about the comments and how you can respond in comments as well. That is also,
and there isn't a natural way to monitor comments without doing it manually at the moment, so that's also painful. So my general view for pharmaceuticals is hang fire. Make sure you have the resource and the planning to take it forward if you really need to get into this market.
Yeah. Another great question. So we do talk about B2B and B2C, but in B2B, any differences or advice between product B2B and services B2B?
Oh yeah. Trying to think. We've done both. So we've worked with Thomson Reuters, we work with Fujitsu, IBM, Google, all various between product and services. The one recognizable thing is I find that product orientated marketeers talk about features and benefits, and we keep saying nobody gives a toss about either of those. And actually we need to be looking at what are the pain points, what are the reasons why a DMU, a decision-making unit, wants to purchase, because you inevitably, for those two type of product versus services, it's a larger decision-making unit making the purchase. It will be 5 or 6 people within the purchase funnel. Why does that matter to them? By the different stakeholders. That's the bit that's probably the worst one for product. We always, it's like, but it has a button on the front, and you're like, well, we don't care. Your audience doesn't care. The other one I would say is that services have a bigger opportunity to be thought leaders, whether on TikTok or social. And that thought leadership is really something that people throw that word around a lot. Thought leadership, by the way, is super hard. It is really hard for CEOs and your subject matter experts to get their heads around as well. So it needs a lot of training, and it needs a lot of thinking, and needs a bit of a structure to it to make it happen the right way, so that you get known as the expert in this particular area. So those are elements I think that probably are a little bit different across all of social media. And with consumer, it varies again, because now we're talking about a different thing. So it sounds daft because people say it so often, but I can't tell you how many B2B brands I've walked into and said, who are your customers? And they don't know. No idea.
Yeah.
IT directors, no, that's not your customers.
Yeah.
So divide your customers up by their needs. Make it a needs-based segmentation, not a demographic or job title based segmentation, and life gets so much easier.
It just comes back to my original training, learning over 20 years that, these channels come, these channels go. The world of social media changes so rapidly, but we have to get our marketing fundamentals, knowing our audience, knowing our goals, our objectives, what we want to do. We can't skip that bit. We might want to dive into creativity, but we cannot skip that bit. And that is the value that as marketers, we all add to the process. Katie, a huge thank you. I think we could all keep asking you questions and commenting on how inspiring this session has been. It has flown by 45 minutes. A huge thank you. The recording will be sent to everyone because I know that there was packed full of examples. I will speak to you soon, Katie. And for everyone else, please stick around. In 3 minutes, we're going to start one more session.
Brilliant. Thank you, everybody, for having me.
Bye.